He didn't just build an army, he turned chaos into choreography. And for a brief moment in African history, war became art. Before Shaka, warfare in southern Africa was loud, chaotic, and ritualistic. Men hurled long spears from a distance. They shouted, clashed, scattered, and regrouped. Victory often came from panic, not planning. Battles weren't commanded, they were reacted to. There were no structured formations, no reserves, no synchronized movements. This was the world Shaka was born into, and the world he broke apart. He was born in the 1780s, near the uThukela River in what is now KwaZulu-Natal, the illegitimate son of a minor Zulu chief, exiled with his mother as a child. He grew up under the Mthethwa, training as a warrior, observing every flaw in the system around him. When he rose to command, he didn't seize power with blood. He seized it with ideas. His first target was the weapon. He replaced the long throwing spear with a short stabbing blade, the iklwa, named for the sound it made leaving the body. No more distance, no more waste. You had to get close. You had to kill with precision. He modified the shield too. Large cowhide shields were issued to every warrior, not just for defense, but to hook, push, and control the enemy's body. It wasn't protection, it was leverage. Then came the discipline. He banned sandals in battle. Barefoot fighters could move faster and grip the earth. He introduced forced marches over brutal distances. If you lagged, you were left behind. If you fled, you were executed. He grouped warriors by age, gave them uniforms, assigned them to regiments. They trained in unison, fought in unison, lived in barracks. But even that wasn't enough. He wanted to transform the battlefield itself. So he created the bullhorn formation. It had 3 parts: chest, horns, and loins. The chest advanced first, engaging the enemy head-on. The horns moved wide on both sides, often hidden by terrain. They would wait, silent, until the moment came to close in and flank. The loins stayed behind, fresh and unseen, ready to reinforce or crush any resistance. The first major test came against the Ndwandwe. They had the numbers, they had experience, but they had no cohesion. Shaka baited them into a frontal clash. As they committed fully, his horns swept in from the bush. Within minutes, the Ndwandwe ranks collapsed. The center fell. The retreat turned to a rout. Their king survived, but his army didn't. And he never challenged the Zulu again. But Shaka wasn't done proving the formation worked. The next year, he turned his attention to the Mthethwa. They were his former allies and his former overlords. They thought they knew him. They didn't. He marched under cover of mist into the valleys near the Mtholozi River. Instead of engaging directly, he had his men feint a retreat. The Mthethwa gave chase, confident, disorganized, eager. When they reached open ground, the horns emerged from behind ridgelines. It wasn't a fight, it was a harvest. That victory marked a shift. Shaka was no longer a warrior king. He was a strategist. Word spread faster than his soldiers. Villages surrendered when they saw the dust of marching feet. Some enemies abandoned their strongholds without a single spear being thrown. They didn't fear the Zulu numbers. They feared being surrounded. Shaka began using terrain like a general trained in European academies. He timed attacks at dawn after days of hidden movement. He used rivers to split enemy forces. He deliberately baited them into overconfidence, then collapsed the trap. One chieftain who survived a battle described what it felt like. He said, "They were smoke until they were thunder. By the time you saw them, you were already surrounded." Years later, when the British arrived, they thought they were facing disorganized tribes. They mocked the shields and spears. But in 1879, at the Battle of Isandlwana, decades after Shaka's death, Zulu commanders used the same bullhorn tactic. 1,300 British soldiers were wiped out in one day. A colonial army with rifles and artillery was overrun by warriors with blades and discipline. A survivor of the battle wrote in his journal, "We were engulfed. It was like the earth opened." That wasn't myth, that was formation. Even British generals started studying how the Zulu moved. Some adopted flanking tactics inspired by the bullhorn. Others denied the defeat was tactical at all. They blamed the terrain, the weather, bad luck. They couldn't accept they'd been outmaneuvered by men with no shoes. Back in Shaka's time, the victories kept mounting, but so did the paranoia. After the death of his mother, Shaka ordered a year of mourning. No crops were to be planted. Pregnant women were killed. Thousands of people died. Some say from grief, others say from madness. His own brothers, sensing the danger, conspired against him. In 1828, they struck. Shaka was stabbed to death near the village of Dukuza. He was buried in an unmarked grave, but the system he built didn't die. The Zulu military machine kept moving. The bullhorn kept circling. Even under new kings, the formation was used in rebellions, border wars, and open battle. It was taught to new generations of warriors, not just as a tactic, but as identity, a way of fighting that turned terrain, timing, and terror into weapons. Shaka didn't rule for long. He didn't have iron, guns, or European maps, but he proved something every empire tries to ignore. You don't need the best weapons. You need the best timing. You need movement with meaning. You need discipline sharper than any blade. That's how you turn a scattered people into an unstoppable force. That's how you build a war machine with no gears, only breath and blood. Save this if you didn't know this story.